Welcome to PLZ Soccer's One-to-One. I'm delighted to say our guest is Scott McDonald. There are so many clubs that I could list that he played for. All I would say is, at 37 years of age, he played with distinction for a good 90% of them. I'm sure there's a few that you might think Scott could have done better, but I think when you look back in this career, is it coming to a close, or is there a few years left in you?
Oh, look, Peter, we'll wait and see, eh? I've retired once, so and you never know if I retire again. I'm again. So, look, I'm just enjoying it right now. It's great to be back playing football. As you've probably seen, it's very, very normal over here. We're very fortunate. We've got crowds in, and the league's going quite well at the moment. Even though we've had to change fixtures here and there because of border closures within Australia, but look, I'm enjoying my football in the sunshine at the moment, and I think the warm weather's helping the old joints, Peter, as well. So never say never, but we'll wait till the end of the season and see what the options are thereafter, whether it's going into the coaching route, still doing the media over here, which is great, Champions League work, Premier League work, or I continue to play. We'll talk to the family and see what's next.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. There's still, I think, a few more miles left in the tank, in my opinion. I mean, listen, I had a look, and I sneaked a look at the Brisbane Roar website. Now, let me tell you, did they go into your background? And the analysis is incredible. I had a look at it and I thought to myself, wow, the statistics, your passing accuracy, the direction you pass the ball, your
Really?
total passes are 820, 665 of them have been successful. Honestly, the analysis is incredible on you.
Pretty good, isn't it? I don't know if that is good stats or not, though, Peter. I only look at one important stat: do we win or not?
Yeah,
I think that's one important one. But and some people like to look at their running stats and everything else, but that's all up to scratch as well. So, look, at the end of the day, it is very good how they do things here analytically, and we've got great S&C people as well. So, I think coming here as well, being in the best league in the country, things are done pretty well here, done very professionally, and that's been an enjoyment part as well. The other offside, off the pitch type of stuff where you get looked after, it's been pretty good.
I mean, there are two elements to your return to Australia. One, you go back there, going back to Australia is a big family commitment. There's decisions to be made with your family. You go to Western United, and then there's a second element to it where suddenly from the south of Australia, you go to the East Coast and join Brisbane Roar. I mean, was that a difficult task, or was it made easy, or has it exceeded your expectations by making that move?
I think it's exceeded expectations making the move itself, but actually making the move was so difficult, Peter, because we never planned on moving ever again. That was it. Going back to Melbourne, where I was brought up and started my football pathway, that was going to be the place where I was going to finish and look to try and help that club progress as a football club. As it happened, it didn't happen. So things happened, in the short term where there was a lot of change within the club setup and inside it in very short space of time. Obviously, being a brand new football club, there is going to be ups and downs within it, and there was certainly a lot of ups and there was downs with it as well. And look, the communication wasn't great there. So, and for me, all I wanted to do was come back and be happy and enjoy my life outside of the game and also enjoy the game itself, just like I had done at Partick Thistle previously to coming, and also helping the club and the younger players progress as well and lead from the front. I found that I was pretty much stunted on all those levels, so it was a good time to get out, and just thankful that Robbie Fowler was interested at the time, and with it being Robbie Fowler, I felt it was someone I could really learn off as well, Peter. The guy, and you look at his career as a football player, and he's just starting out in his management. But for me, it was all about just if I could get bits and pieces off him, just in terms of his journey and his experiences. No matter how long he's been coaching, he'll have ideas as well. And it was someone that was on the same page because he'd been in Europe all his life, and pretty much I'm Scottish, I'm British at heart, so same mentality with him and Tony Grant as assistant manager. So it just hit it off straight away, and I think that's why the results for me personally have gone so well. And obviously they'd moved on and we've got a new coach, but managed to bed in really well. And the new manager's been great with me as well, and obviously gave me my place as a senior player and just let me lead and do exactly what I was doing when Robbie was in charge as well. So it's going really well for us.
Yeah, I'm sure Warren Moon will look at it. We were talking about statistics earlier, but he'll look at you and say, okay, what does he contribute to the team? And you probably, as a striker, are thinking goals. That's the key to it for me as well. You've got 7 goals already. I mean, you haven't lost your touch.
Yeah, look, you always want to score goals. You'll never lose that. I think probably my hunger is still there to score them, but probably not as much as it used to be. I don't come off the pitch as angry as I used to be not scoring. I think there's a bit of humility within it now. Since I came back from obviously out of retirement the second time round. Sorry, the first time. I'm already saying I'm going to come out of retirement for a second time. But it was it was really like, for me, about helping others around me and being a better person off the pitch, which helped me become a better player and then a better person on it as well, I think. And I got the just rewards for that. And certainly now it's all about trying to help some of the younger players. I really enjoyed, obviously, being at Motherwell as well, where Lee Irwin and Louis Moult and helping their games come on. And then obviously going to Partick Thistle, we had the likes of Aidan Fitzpatrick, who then went on to Norwich. We had, I think it was Lewis Mansell as well, who was just coming from Blackburn. Obviously, you think as well, like, personally, if you were around these players, you could help them even more and they might progress further. And certainly that's my thought process now, that, yes, I am a player, but I'm looking to try and help those, especially centre forwards and attacking players, in my insight and what I think and how I can help them. So thankfully they want to take it on board, and I'm enjoying that side of it as well. So certainly, that's a taster in terms of wanting to coach further down the line.
Yeah, my look at the qualities that's required, from being a player to moving to a coach, and the personality traits that certain people have, you can sometimes look and think, okay, he's got the makings of a coach. I look at yourself, the experience you've had, you've got a strong personality, you've been around the block, you're keen to, I think, you mentioned there about having the humility, but you're keen to actually pass on qualities to other players. I think you've got all the makings of a coach. I'm sure, the media thing is one thing, but coaching could take you down another road of making big decisions again for the family.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I'm hoping in the short future not to be the case, Peter. I think my wife would kill me. And I think COVID's probably been a good thing for us as a family, because she knows that we can't move. But yeah, look, Brisbane Roar have been excellent. They gave me the pathway, and that was another reason coming here. I was working with under 14s for a good period there in the Brisbane Roar. Now I'm helping out with we call it it's the reserve side, basically. We've got another name for it, but there's no point in explaining that. But the reserves at the moment. So, and I'm doing things within the first team, especially with the attacking group, and doing sessions there and everything. And I'm doing my pro license with the SFA at the moment as well. So yeah, certainly coaching I have a passion for, and certainly looking to go down that route. And you touched on the media. I always loved doing that. I had great experiences back in Scotland doing it, and getting the opportunities to do it here as well. So it's all football, and that's obviously fantastic for anyone that's been in the game for as long as I have to be able to remain in it. So that would be nice, obviously, once you hang up the boots to be able to go into other pathways within it.
I know you place your family, at the forefront of your decisions on this. They had to obviously make an adjustment leaving Scotland, and now going back to Australia. How have they settled in? How have you, as a collective, settled back into life in Australia, which must be, again, a change? You might have adapted to it culturally, but with the kids.
Yeah, I think you're right, Peter. I think it's easy for the likes of me and people that move for their jobs, because you just go in and you go straight into your workplace and you meet new people and you get on with it. And obviously culturally, you've lived here before, even though it's changed a lot over the period of 20 years of being away. But you kind of get the gist of it. And it was a little bit slower and a little bit different from culturally what we were used to. And as a family, my wife's been through it a lot in terms of being from place to place and trying to meet new people. And always has to be in balance with what I'm doing as well. So that's difficult. But I think culturally, I think the biggest one that probably found it the most difficult was my son. Being away from the Celtic Rangers anarchy in Glasgow, being a part of that, and actually, I'm not ashamed to admit it, but he was at Rangers before he left as well, in the youth age groups, and was really enjoying it. So to find the development pathway for him in terms of his football side of things, and people not understanding quite who Celtic or Rangers was, I think that was very hard for him to quite understand. And they like soccer here, but it's not the be all and end all. Whereas, my son Callum, he would come home and watch it every day of the week, every minute of the day if he could. It's just a little bit different here culturally to that. So it took him a while to adjust, but he's doing great now. And the girls, I've got 2 girls as well, and well, they're like me; they just attack everything. So they're not a problem in this world, Peter. Don't worry, I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah, I've got to ask you, you've mentioned the madness of Glasgow. Celtic have finally pulled the plug on Neil Lennon as manager. The right call?
Look, I think no question everyone would agree that it is the right call. Probably hindsight's a wonderful thing, and we can talk about should he have gone earlier. Look, yes, but I think it's important now. There's a lot of water under that bridge. And there was measures needed to be taken earlier in the season, and it just hasn't happened. COVID's really affected Celtic Football Club more than Rangers has. Rangers have been steady Eddie and built and being very consistent. It seems like there's a lot of upset within the playing side of the staff at Celtic Football Club, and a lot of unrest in terms of players wanting to leave. Neil's touched on that early in the season. Probably a big mistake to tell everyone in the media. And put it out there. I don't think with this changing room from what he had previous to the first time round, they're willing to accept, the types of criticism sometimes and the testers that he puts out there in public for people to know. I don't think they reacted well from that. I think it's been a slippy slope since then for him, unfortunately. But I don't want to talk about all the negative things about Neil, because we've got to remember how much he's done for the football club as well. It's very difficult to do that at this moment in time, and certainly a lot of fans are feeling the pinch because they were so desperate to have 10 in a row. But he's one of their own. So it's important that people respect him for what he has done over the playing and the coaching career that he's had at Celtic Football Club. And I think Dermot Desmond touched on it right. He is a Celtic legend. There is no question. Obviously, when time's gone by a little bit and buried, hopefully he can come back and he'll get the respect that's due to him. But look, as history goes, they'll never get another probably opportunity to win 10. So there's a lot of hurt and angst amongst the Celtic supporters, and you can understand why. But I think it's important now to put that to one side, and the club has to really, really, get on with it now and pick a successor and build for the future, because I think there is going to be a lot of change between now and the beginning of next season. There's going to be a lot of players that are going to need to be moved on, whether that's because they're just not up to the challenge of being at Celtic Football Club, or players that actually just don't want to be there and want to try a new challenge after being there so long and winning so many things. I think it can be natural at times that, especially under the circumstances of COVID, not having that so-called 12th man to push them at times, and people will say, well, you shouldn't need push, but these guys have won a quadruple treble. So in terms of not having your fans to give you the kick up the backside every now and again and drive you in games where it's difficult, I think that's been very difficult for Celtic. Now, look, people might disagree with that and say what they want, but I certainly think psychologically, we've seen in a lot of different sports a lot of funny results of late, and I certainly think with the whole circumstances of COVID, it's affecting some more than others, and you've got to praise the ones that it doesn't affect, and that's why they're on top of the game. And you can only but almost congratulate Rangers for the job they've done, and look at what they're doing in Europe and what Steven Gerrard's built there. It's going to be very difficult for Celtic now, and that's why I say they need to really now get a move on and plan ahead, and it's probably the right time now to start looking at a successor, and now Neil's gone, they can do that.
Yeah, you know better than anyone the goings on behind the scenes in a club. From, as you mentioned and highlighted there rightly, players, some who want to go, some who are not good enough. It's not just the manager, the recruitment. Why did they not pull the plug earlier to try and sustain that challenge? There are other areas of it that I think all contributed to his demise.
There's no full blame in this. On one individual. It can't be. There's a lot of people in the background there that can probably hide in the background. And when you're the manager, that's what you want to be, and the responsibility that holds. And when things aren't going right, you're the whipping boy, and you've got to be the voice for the football club. And Neil's done that as best as he could in difficult circumstances. There's no question. It's been hard for him and been hard for everyone, but I know Neil is a true winner, and certainly coming out, having to speak on when you're losing game after game, it's not easy, and not getting the reaction as well out of the players, because he's probably tried everything, Peter, and it's just not worked. And I think everyone's seen that before Christmas time that it wasn't. And but for Neil, he's not a quitter. It was always going to be up to the club itself to pull that plug. And I think obviously now they've had the conversation and it's ended up being mutual, but I think it's probably more, a push rather than a walk.
Yeah. Do you think it's time for a major clear out? Because there are some players who've caused problems in the background. There are some players who've been recruited who clearly are not good enough to wear that jersey. Do you think it's time now for the manager will want to come in with his own team and make it a complete, a fresh start?
I think it's easy to do that. And I think when Brendan Rodgers took over, there was talk of a lot of change as well in Ronnie Dyler's team. But, Brendan Rodgers more or less took exactly the same team and look what he done with it. So I think sometimes when a new manager can come in, it could be a huge different reaction. It just wasn't working for Neil in the end, as much as he had tried, and the response just wasn't there. But if there is players unhappy, then Celtic are going to have to look at cashing in. But in the circumstances that everyone is in right now, what are those funds, what are those values going to be looking like for Celtic to sell on, and are they going to want to at those prices? That's going to be the biggest question. Because as we know, Celtic have done extremely well in previous transfer windows to hold out for big money. And I imagine, obviously, Edouard will be one name that will be on that list, and it will be a matter of how much can they actually get for Edouard now. We were talking probably a year or so ago, bigger money than Dembele. Is that going to be a possibility now? Probably not. And on the back of the performances as well of all the players, has their values gone down? So I think there's going to be questions on Edouard. I think there's going to be questions on Christie. I think McGregor will probably want to stay and be seen as the natural guy that will go in now as a captain and replace Scott Brown longer term. But are people going to try and turn his head as well? I think there will be. I think they'll, because he's a fantastic footballer. So all Celtic's bigger players are probably going to, the agents are going to be trying to turn their head in the summer. There's no question of that. It's whether, it's just a matter of Celtic picking and choosing which ones are right to stay and which ones aren't. And obviously with now a new CEO in charge, we don't know what's going to happen in terms of the recruitment side of it, if everyone's going to stay from that end. But I think the next month or so is going to really tell a true story of what direction Celtic are going in, and who they see fit for purpose, whether it be playing or hierarchy staff above them also.
And finally, on that point, picking the right man for the job, Steve Clarke's been quoted as an early favourite. Roberto Martinez, Sean Maloney's name's been mentioned. You've got guys like Rafa Benitez, whose name has been thrown in there, as well as Eddie Howe. What type of character do you think it has to be to sell season tickets, let's be honest about it, and to get Celtic back on track?
Look, I think it has to be someone that Celtic fans can believe in and can trust in. It's going to have to probably be a name once again. If we're talking about it from a business point of view, in a business sense, like you've mentioned there, Peter, about selling season tickets, then more than not, Celtic fans are going to want a name. they're not going to want a Ronnie Dyler type of manager coming in. That's one that they're trying to build and progress and looking to make bigger and better for another football club. I think Celtic fans will demand a manager that's already got a CV that is of the highest quality. Now it's just a case of and a question of whether or not Celtic can afford to bring in someone of that caliber. You talk about Roberto Martinez. Is he really going to want to move on from Belgium at this moment in time? Does he see himself maybe getting a Premier League job? Rafa Benitez has just left China, and his name was linked with the job already. And he more or less said that he wasn't interested in the job when he was getting linked with it. Eddie Howe's one that's been around a little while. Again, a lot of good things have been spoken about Eddie, but really only done it at a small Bournemouth. No disrespect, but it's a smaller club. That they've done ever so well. It's his club. Is he ready for this big challenge? Who knows? I don't know Eddie personally enough. A lot of players do speak highly of him in terms of his coaching ability, but he's had a lot of big personalities at his Bournemouth Football Club, and they haven't played. He's got rid of them very quickly, but that might suit Celtic because they are about developing and bringing younger players through. And I think really Celtic now, and Dermot Desmond's done it time and again before, where the questions have been asked and he certainly answered them. So I think probably this is another time where he's going to be asked questions, and can he answer them once again?
Yeah, and a lot of people look at what Steven Gerrard's done. You complimented him earlier. There is a feeling that if they can build again after winning the title this year, then they're going to take some stopping with him in charge.
I think so. I mean, they've had now progression every year, you could say, albeit not winning anything up until probably this season. But the football that they've played, you can't argue. It's been tremendous stuff this season, and the recruitment they've got bang on, haven't they? And that's been shown in their performance and the results this season. So I think they will go from strength to strength, and the players know now what's required at that football club. They know the type of style and system that he wants to play, and by winning a title, that will just breed even more belief into those players. Finally, the monkey's off the back. And now they can go in, being the champions next year, full of confidence, and everyone hoping that there's going to be crowds back into the stadiums, that they'll have probably a little bit extra swagger and belief, and Ibrox once again will become a fortress. So it's going to be difficult, but I'm looking forward to it, Peter. I've got to say, I mean, now that this 10 in a row's all done with, pretty much, it's back to toing and froing. The old days. So it's up to Celtic to now answer the questions of what Rangers done this season, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that's going to be like in the summer and how the next season is going to progress. But we're talking about next season already, but it's still there to be won. But Rangers have had a fantastic season, there's no question, and they're still in Europe doing fantastic things as well. So it's absolutely fair play to them. It's been great for them, and what they've done and what Celtic's done is it's allowed now 2 Champions League places as well. So Celtic still get a good crack at trying to qualify for the Champions League, which is great. So again, we're talking about preparing for that. So the sooner they can get all their ducks in a row and get a manager in place and get everything else ready, they're going to be in such a better place to try and qualify for that.
Just before you go, have you got a title possibly in mind for yourself? You're in the running.
Oh, look, it's early days still. There's probably still 2/3 of the season to go, but we're in good shape. We're really in good shape, and we don't concede too many goals. So from that, I think you can always build confidence from the back going forward, and we've certainly done that. And if the old guy can still chip in till the end of the season, hopefully we'll have a chance.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that. I don't think the Gold Coast suits you. Beaches out there, warm weather. It's not doing anything for you. You need to come back and lose some of that tan.
I know, and Tommy Aldridge, who people might know obviously from his Motherwell days, he's just bought a jet ski. So I think on the weekend we're going to go down and have a bit of fun on that.
Yeah. Just make me feel sick right at the end of the interview. Listen, Scott, as ever, it's an absolute joy to speak to you. I wish you every success for the season, but we'll stay in touch. And thanks again for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. You guys stay safe, and hopefully everything clears itself up finally for you guys.